Good day, brothers and sisters. And just a friendly reminder, I know you will always remember to click that subscribe button and the like button. I will remind you again to do so throughout the show because, it's important because we are shadow banned, as it turns out, and it's important that you support us. And the best way to support us right now is actually to watch our shows. And if you don't, you're probably a communist. We actually want communists to watch our shows because we get to share some stuff that you may learn from us. And once we get you to call in, maybe we'll learn some stuff from you. However, I highly doubt it. Glenn, what's up? How you been?
Well, speaking about communists, you'd think that's a common place here in Canada with the centralization of everything going on. You'd think the communists would want to go on our show more often.
Well, they're very close to passing that Bill C-11. They passed it right in the House, and now we're kind of screwed. It's kind of scary times. We may not be able to say anything at all. They may just ban us all together because it's the right thing to do for the Canadians, right? So I don't know, Glenn. How do you feel about that Bill C-11? It's not the story we wanted to cover. I'm going to put you on the spot, but since you brought it up, or since I brought it up,
well, I think that's the left thing to do. The right thing to do is right and wrong. The right thing is to not push it through. So,
was it a right thing to do to arrest Trump? Is he technically arrested?
34 charges they're putting against him. Some nefarious stuff with his companies and paying off Stormy Daniels, a porn actress. I mean, that's her claim to fame. And this is what they're trying to bring down, one of the greatest leaders of the United States of America. I know there's a lot of people who are going to disagree with me, but this story's not over yet. Wait, you're going to see something.
Well, it does say it's not necessarily just about the hush money, but it's about falsifying records, right? And that's the thing. It's been going on forever. Like Trump has been the Putin's agent forever, and they never proved anything. But so they're trying to revive that Stormy Daniels story. There's a reason why they're doing it, because he is running again. He is campaigning, and they really don't want him back in the office. And, well, don't take my word for it. What do you think, Glenn? Is that a true assessment? Is that really the story behind the thing?
Yeah, they don't want him. He's not their man in the office because under him, the globalists had lost a lot of power, and America was coming back up again. But they want to sacrifice America for other entities in the world. And since Biden has come in, that's what's going on. Look at the economy is starting to go back down. The stock market, the only thing holding up the stock market is the hope that the central bank is going to have to start printing some more money. And the federal government, the Treasury, is going to lower the interest rates just to keep the whole shooting match going on.
But sometimes I feel like Trump is a Trojan horse anyway. He's like the latest great hope, white hope, right? He coming in here to save the world. He was going to put Hillary in jail last time around and do all other things, build the wall. He started to build the wall, to be fair. He didn't finish it, but there's other things that he promised to do. He didn't really come. Well, I'm sure he has, not I'm sure, I know he has a lot of opposition and to whatever he was trying to do. But is he really the guy to save the America, or is he the only guy, Glenn?
Well, it's good thing it wasn't Hillary Clinton, okay? Because we've already been done.
Okay, this is what, Charlie Kirk, this is what Charlie Kirk thinks of this thing.
Every 10 years we do a census as mandated by the Constitution. Most people don't know this, but the map has slightly changed in Trump and the Republican favor for the first time for 2024. So the maps are good for 3 cycles, and then you redo them. Good for 3 cycles. Actually, 2 cycles, redo them.
Well, wait, what do you mean? It's right here it's saying...
Let me show you. Okay, so let's assume Texas goes red. Is that fair enough to say?
Oh,
okay.
Easily. And Florida.
Yep. Okay, let's assume Pennsylvania goes blue, please. And then nice. New Hampshire goes blue. And then all of Maine goes blue.
Really?
Yeah. Let me show you. Michigan goes blue. I know what I'm doing here. Yeah. So, and Minnesota goes blue.
And Minnesota goes blue.
And then Nevada goes blue.
And Nevada goes blue.
Iowa goes red.
Iowa goes
and Ohio goes red.
and Ohio goes
And
red.
North
I thought
Carolina
it goes
red.
rainbow,
That's-
or
okay.
whatever those new
So what you
colors
have
are.
right here is why they fear Trump. All Trump has to do is win Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin, and he's the president of the United States. 3 states he won in 2016, 3 states that receive Zuckerberg money, 3 states that have elected statewide Republicans, and 3 states that have more, 2 states that have more Republicans registered than Democrats in Georgia and Arizona, and 1 state that's 50-50. This is why the Democrats are indicting Trump. The map has changed.
Is that a fair assessment?
Just probably one of the reasons. Okay, there's going to be there's a lot more, but that's one of the reasons. People in government right now, they don't work for the people. They work for the globalists. That's the World Economic Forum, the Council on Foreign Relations. These are your globalists, your planners. These are your power movers of the world. So Trump was working for the people. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Trump, his boisterous ways, he's got a bit of a mouth and this and that. Yeah, I understand, but he was more for the people, something that Canada needs, by the way. And we also had news about Maxime Bernier joining with the Conservatives.
Okay, so I always was weary about that. Why was if he's making that move now, like, wasn't it better last election cycle not to divide people? Not like he got a lot of votes for this anyway, but he must have taken away some votes from some seats.
Yeah, but there's also strategies involved. You have to realize that we have to expose what's been going on. But if you do it too quickly, the average person is going to be overwhelmed. Now they'll lose faith in anything. They won't believe, oh, what can you believe? This, that. So there's an agenda, a good agenda for the people to be able to bring this to realization. But it's going to take time. You don't want to overload them. And it doesn't take much today to overload the average person.
But if we play politics, right, sort of like if we're entering the age of Renaissance and we continue to play political strategies of lie and deceit and all this other stuff, isn't it we're lowering ourselves to whatever level that we don't really want to be at? We want to raise the vibration, if you know what I mean, right? We want to be playing we don't want to be playing checkers. We want to be playing chess. But I feel like every time we get into those political games and political discussions, as we do here at the Roundtable, we're not doing it to actually bring ourselves down to the level of the 3D world. We actually want to show you the way to observe it and to step out and be above it. Is it a fair assessment, Glenn?
Yeah, it's about bringing the average person back up, okay, to the realization of what's going on. Let's increase everybody's awareness level. That should be the goal of everybody. Let's all go up together.
Yeah, so if you continue to think that the whole Trump thing is that, Trump is bad, he's a criminal, I can't believe and you don't look beyond what's going on, you don't see that's the Republican and Democrats, especially the rhinos, the Republicans and Democrats, they're all part of the same, those are the people that get richer when you and me are getting poor. Well, and the richest people, I favored Democrat financier, what's his name?
Georgi Schwartz, or
Yeah.
George Soros.
George Soros. He actually funded Alvin Bragg. And when, Washington Post has attempted to dismiss the claims that the liberal financier has funded the district attorney prosecuting Trump. And then, people found he got a $1 million donation, color of the Change PAC, or whatever that. Soros donated $1 million to the color of the Change PAC, the largest individual donation it received in the 2022 election cycle, days after it endorsed Bragg for district attorney and pledged more than $1 million in spending to support his candidacy. That seems like an endorsement to me, and it is specifically that is the political game. Who has the money, and do the money really buy votes? Is that how it works, Glenn?
Again, George Soros. That's one of the globalists that I was telling you about. He has no allegiance to one country. He's a globalist. He thinks he's above all the other countries. So therefore, he thinks he's above the all nation states and the governments of those countries, which we supposedly elect in through democracy. But our democracy is really being challenged, especially when you notice the amount of young people not voting anymore. In other words, they don't really care. They've already bought into the socialist agenda, and they said, "Oh no, the government knows what's better for us, and they're gonna, everybody should be equal." The guy over there who has 2 jobs and is doing everything he can, making right choices to get ahead economically in his life, well, he doesn't deserve that, and we should tax him more and give to the other person who I don't know, wants to stay home and play video games all day long.
How do you cater to that audience, though, to the upcoming? They don't watch TV, right? They don't watch TV. So how do you cater them? How do you even get them interested in politics? Or they don't read newspapers?
You find ways to give them freebies or make them believe that nothing is their fault and that the government is going to take care of them no matter what. And, they don't really have to work hard. That would be called a slave, to try and change your financial bracket that you're in.
Well, isn't it part of the Renaissance where you do what you can to serve the people versus do what you have to do to pay bills? But also, I believe that's so we're going to do some comedy, brothers and sisters. But I also believe the way the young people get brainwashed is, again, this is a common theme, discernment. Remove God. When you remove God, you remove authority that's above your government. And then you got to listen to the government, and you have to appeal to what they tell you. And what they tell you is crazy stuff like this. I don't know if you saw this, Glenn, but let's watch this together. This is crazy.
Sounds like the woke agenda.
How do you and how does this government define a...
Well, this is what's his name? Chris Napkins? Is that his name?
Was that the leader of
Hipkins.
New Zealand?
Yeah, Chris Hipkins. I didn't even know who knows. Ardenne stepped down. Nobody really cared about this guy because this guy is like I just don't know. Look at his face. Look at the way the interpreter, silent language interpreter looks at him. Look at her face.
He looks kind of like restricted in that little box. Looks like a mouse trapped or something.
Yeah. Let's listen to this. It's a good description.
woman?
Okay, so actually the reporter just asked him how this government defines a woman. Let's listen.
Comments by Keir Starmer in Britain. How do you and how does this government define a woman?
To be honest, Sean, that question's...
Hold on. That's the leader of the free world. One of the countries in the free world.
That part of it, yeah. But, I just looking at it, it looks kind of weird because the lad, or I don't know, ladess on the right, that looks a little bizarre. And he got caught. He wasn't saying anything.
He wasn't ready.
But no, and he was just and it looks like the person on the right was filling in all the words for him.
Oh, he did Justin, right? He pulled Justin. Okay, so let's watch this.
Come slightly out of left field for me.
You mean out of right field?
Well, biology, sex, gender. People define themselves. People define their own genders.
He's so afraid to say what he actually believes because he's going to get called out by the woke crowd. Like, really, do they have that much power? Really, man, or whatever? First of all, straighten up your tie, okay, when you're up there in front of everybody. And let's, how can you even say that's a leader when he can't even answer a most simple question like that, and he has a fear to answer that question?
Well, he did say it. He said, biology, sex, gender, and then you define your own. So that's okay. So this is what I've learned in biology. Did you learn that in biology? Apparently, that's what you and me learned in biology. That sex, gender, you define it yourself. So would I pass a class if if I had some some chromosomes? Is like define a female species, define a male species. It's like, oh, I can't. Species defines itself. Oh, how would they say it?
I don't know, big guy, but if you thought you were a chick, I'd have to tell you, you're one ugly-looking chick. And you know something? I would be worse.
Hold on. Brothers and sisters, from now on, I identify as an 8-year-old Asian girl because she has more subscribers than us. And to get the subscribers, that's what I choose to identify. We got to finish this video. We have to it's just 1 minute long. We got to get through this. Hold on.
Keir Starmer has said that he believes 99.9% of women do not have penises. And I know it's a strange thing for him to say, but given recent events in New Zealand, I'd ask again, how do you define what a woman is?
Well, I think as I've just indicated, I wasn't expecting that question, so it's not something that I've, pre-formulated an answer on. But in terms of gender identity, I think people define their gender identity for themselves.
Really, sweetheart. Okay. First of all, what reporter would ask a question like that? Like, he even thinks himself as being serious, and that's why the so-called leader, he says, "Well, you kind of like caught me off guard with that question. Let's go back to Romper Room and learn it all over again."
Well, he actually did not deny the fact. He did not deny the fact that most of the questions, if not all of them, are predetermined questions to which they prepare. So it's all a farce anyway. It's all a feeder. Of course, it's all a feeder. And this is why we got to hold our politicians accountable, because it's a joke. It's a joke. When you watch stuff on TV, and especially comes from Channel 1 News or whatever that channel is, whenever it comes something from the legacy that is media that is sponsored and financed,
bought and paid for,
paid for by the state, then you got to question every single word. Like, oh, Glenn, talk to me about discernment about this.
Yeah, put it this way: 25 years ago, you would never have thought they would be talking about something today, as though this is a big subject, as though like, oh, hey, like, question yourself, question the question. You have so-called leaders who get tongue-tied and stuck. The whole thing is and what's going to happen 25 years from now? People are going to look back and say, "Whoa, what a bunch of lost people they were."
That's a good assessment. What else is in the news? Oh, let's get to something real. Brothers and sisters, did you put gas in your car recently? Does it seem a bit more expensive than usual? Glenn.
Okay, well, Trudeau increased the carbon tax again, so it went up another 7 cents a liter. On top of OPEC plus nations, these are the energy czars, they all decided to cut back on the production of the oil. A lot of people, initially, they believe this is going to drive the oil prices up a lot higher. It's going to create even more inflation. But there's another group of people who are saying that OPEC is just getting in front of the curve because they predict that the economy, the whole world's economy, is really going to slow down. And so they don't want to have an oversupply, shall we say, that would really knock down the price per barrel like it did, 2 years ago when it was negative $30 a barrel, because he had too much oil and there was no place to store it.
Is it really the case, or is it BRICS?
It could be the new BRICS nations combining together to challenge the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, the petrodollar. Now you have the petro yuan. And so just that alone, a lot of the countries in the world are fighting back against the American hegemony, the globalist hegemony, actually. And this is going to be very detrimental to a lot of places in Europe and to North America. Even countries like Mexico are going to be joining on. Honduras, South America, it's Brazil. Now I'm hearing about Chile, Argentina. Everybody's joining on this new currency system. That's going to be very difficult for people who still believe in the old paradigm. You got to get ahead of the learning curve yourself.
Reuters has a little video. Let's try to see it. It's just like 1 minute long.
As the price of oil headed for its biggest daily rise in nearly a year, the White House on Monday confirmed it was given a heads up about the decision by OPEC Plus to cut oil production before the group shocked markets with its announcement a day earlier. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said the U.S. told the Saudi-led group the cuts were ill-advised, adding that he couldn't even begin to speculate why the decision was made. OPEC Plus, the
what do you mean? That's all U.S. can do is just complain? How tides have turned. Let's listen.
Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, including Russia, announced Sunday it was cutting output by more than 1 million barrels a day starting next month. That's in addition to the 2 million barrel a day cut the group announced in October, which continues at least through the end of the year. Word of the additional cuts sent oil prices soaring by more than 5% on Monday. Analysts and traders said the move by OPEC Plus.
Well, big guy, maybe a contraction of supply for the West will
encourage the production.
Yes, of our own, especially in Canada, where we have so much. I mean, let's invest in our own, and we could stop enriching other nations and enrich Canadians for a change, Mr. Trudeau.
Well, it's not going to hold up. You can't you see what's his name, Kirby, right? He's like, oh, how dare they? I can't believe, why would they do something like this? Why wouldn't they consult us? Well, that's the thing. That's why you're losing the power now. That's one of the signs. And again, for me, it's a controlled demolition of the Western society, specifically of the petrodollar. But one of the proofs that nobody listens, look at that. One of the G7 members, which is Japan, after all the sanctions, after all said and done, and Japan, I think officially still never really signed a declaration of peace after World War II with Russia, and that's why they're still dealing with the islands. But I'm not sure 100% how that works. We'll do a whole different show on that. They're still buying oil. They're still buying oil from Russia.
Well, they're buying over their cap amount. They asked America if they could do that because they have to ensure the supplies to rebuild. By the way, America's supplies are very low also. So if the price of oil goes up and America has to rebuild its storage and its supplies, that's going to be very costly to Americans.
Well, the Biden was the one who tapped into the emergency, into the emergency, what do they call it, self storage, right? The oil.
Yeah, the storage systems. It's an emergency amount in case. He tapped into it just to try and keep the energy prices a lot lower than what it is. But you get the other nations who are going to counter that. Then what do you do?
And then you're going to run out of that eventually, which it is. He depleted all the emergency stuff. They're trying to refill it now. I don't know what this... You can't really believe if they say they refilled it or not. Speaking of BRICS, Russia reveals host city for 2024 BRICS summit.
Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Those are the main ones. And they're going to be holding a summit in Kazan. That's the southwest part of Russia, fairly close to the NATO borders, just to say, haha, look what we're doing. But there's a lot more countries than them who are joining on this, by the way.
Well, it's also significant and I think symbolic because Kazan is it's not Tartaria, but it's Tartar Autonomous Republic. So, and that has something to do with Tartaria, at least in the name. It's not the same thing. I know it isn't. And, Tartar fans, Mod Flood and Tartarian friends can write us and correct us if I'm wrong. But there's something symbolic about that. Because that was the world order back in the day, according to some theories. Oh, let's continue with the stories. Oh, that's important, right? So BRICS, speaking of BRICS and the new world order, right? So before one of the tools that the world order, the present petrodollar and federal bank, and let's do some quantitative easing type of order, they would come into a country and offer them some IMF assistance. Glenn, what would it entail?
Yeah, it's IMF. We're going to give you some dollars, but which is a loan, by the way. And even though we know that you'll never be able to pay it off, well, you're going to have to pledge all your real assets, like your ports or your tourist attractions. And, these have real value. And then when you can't pay it back, well, we're going to take back stuff that's real, and we gave you fake paper currency just to float it along a little bit, float everything along a little bit more in time. And there you go. You see that the leaders don't work for their countries, because if you did, you would never do that for your country. No, you were put there by the globalists, and you're following their agenda, and you're going to get paid very well for it, by the way.
And, this is in the story. Russia forgives African countries $20 billion debt. That's sort of opposite of what you just described, isn't it? Right. So the idea is that It's to encourage trade and to encourage the growth of the countries. I don't know. Are they buying time before they become like IMF and it's just all, fuss? Or you think it's really like building of the new order by actually by doing the right thing?
Well, they've invested a lot of money in Africa, what do you call that continent that's been pillaged and raped.
Chinese too, by the way. Actually,
Yes.
Chinese invested a lot more than any other nation recently.
And just about a week and a half ago, you had the leader of Kenya, William Ruto. He came out and he had said that he warned his people not to hold dollars, meaning U.S. dollars, and that there was going to be a big change going on in a couple of weeks. And anybody who, holds on to these dollars in many African countries, they're going to lose a lot of their wealth.
Speaking of Africa, a lot of Africa in the news. President Museveni's son says Uganda will send troops to defend Moscow. So there's a lot of support, like, when they say the whole world against Russia. Well, it's clearly not the case. If it was the case, then BRICS is actually a lot more than the whole world if you count population. Like, so when they say the whole world, it's Commonwealth and some European countries, right?
Well, I think Putin and the leader of Russia with Russia's military might, they would say, well, thanks for offering, but the Ugandan army, we don't need it really. We have the most nuclear weapons in the world. We have the power.
Well, the Uganda's army is probably supplied by the by the old Soviet technology anyway, and that's what they're using in Ukraine right now.
Nice gesture, though. A brownie point.
Well, in not so good news for Switzerland, Swiss bankers face mass layoffs. Are you surprised, Glad?
No, I knew that was coming, but that's coming to a bank near us. It's because those banks are basically insolvent, so they're trying to cut down their expenses to last even longer into the new system that's coming. But also, along with these banks that are cash flowing negatively, really, there's also layoffs caused from the artificial intelligence taking over a lot of jobs.
We have some of that artificial intelligence story in us, but there's a video here. Oh, I don't know. Before we get to the artificial intelligence, what do you think about this? Like, the truth will set you free. It will always come out, right? The truth, somehow you can never hide it. The thing is, a lot of things became self-evident throughout times, like the crimes by different so-called leaders of U.S. and Canada. In Canada, we have like, Trudeau with all of his scandals and all his conflict of interest and China connections, all this stuff. Then we have people like Trump and his Biden and his family with China connection. We have a video actually. Let's watch this for a minute, and maybe a little bit longer.
Banks have been very difficult, and to extract these bank records from them, even though fully lawfully and with a subpoena. I know that James Comer's Oversight Committee did have some resistance, although that is now declining and they seem to be getting full cooperation from most of the banks. And they are just methodically going through, forensically, finding the money trail that shows the huge millions of dollars, huge sums coming from China as well as other countries into Biden family coffers. And the wire that you just mentioned is particularly notable because it's obviously the payments have been made in a way to disguise them. They were funneled, first of all, through a proxy, through Rob Walker, the Biden family intimate, and then they were parcelled out over 3 months in small increments to 5 different accounts associated with 4.
Hold on. What are the small increments?
Well, small, yeah, big to the average person, but small to them. But look, it says Biden family received $1 million from China. Of that $1 million, I'm sure 900,000 went to Hunter Biden's cocaine habit.
Is that it's that expensive nowadays? I wouldn't know. Okay, so hold on. Is cocaine a valid investment? Like, it's at least in BC, right? Because cocaine is legal now. I don't know that brothers and sisters, that was a joke. If you didn't get it, that was a joke. Please do not call the police.
Another one.
Yeah, well, another one. Yeah. Today I'm in a funny mood. Speaking of ChatGPT and people losing jobs, to prevent this, like until it hits you in the pockets, right? Some rich people, and then rich people would have influence over politicians that they hold dear in their pocket. It's like, hold on, man. Like, what? ChatGPT does what? No, you can't do this. It's gonna ruin my whole business. Banned it. And that's exactly what happened in Germany. Did you see that article, Glenn?
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of people a little bit worried of how quick the ChatGPT is advancing, the open AI, and so some countries just want to slow it down. Here you have Germany talking about doing it. You have a movement here in United States where a lot of well-known people, they're saying that we have to slow this release of the ChatGPT because we have to put some restrictions and some boundaries upon it. But the leader of Italy, what was her name? Giorgia Meloni, she banned it already. This girl stands up for what's right.
I'm gonna get sidetracked a bit in terms of ChatGPT. Remember ChatGPT and the TikTok story. And the TikTok story that's been around the news cycle for the last few months, well, weeks specifically. But we've covered it many times. Our man Ron Paul, the one that retired. Rand Paul is the son. Ron Paul is the father, right?
Ron Paul is the father. Yeah,
he ran for president twice, 3 times.
Yeah, he was a patriot, but he's a libertarian. He doesn't like the left-leaning government or the right-leaning government. He likes a proper governance for the people, by the people.
So me and Glenn were debating, like, if the C-11 actually goes through, is like, okay, let's go move to U.S. and ask for political asylum, because there's still possibly some freedom going on in the West. Apparently not. We may have to move to Russia, Glenn. Let's watch this a little bit, because this is scary.
Technology Act. The bill is being marketed as a way to protect Americans from foreign governments that use social media to spy on Americans. The Restrict Act makes no mention of TikTok or ByteDance. The Chinese government is mentioned only once in the bill, when it is designated as a foreign adversary, along with 5 other governments. What the bill does do is give the Secretary of Commerce power to identify, deter, disrupt, prevent, prohibit, investigate, or otherwise mitigate any risk arising from any covered transaction by any person or with respect to any property that the Secretary of Commerce determines poses an undue or unacceptable risk in a laundry list of areas. Among those areas are coercive or criminal activities by a foreign adversary that are designed to undermine democratic processes and institutions or steer policy and regulatory decisions in favor.
That's technically us.
Objectives of a foreign adversary to the detriment of the national security of the United States. So the U.S. should shut down an American social media company based on the Secretary of Commerce's determination that a website, while not actually doing.
Glenn, it's scary, isn't it? 1984, all over. It's never finished, right?
Well, I think what Mr. Paul was talking about with foreign adversary to the United States, that's the globalists against Americans. That's the globalists against the Russians. It's the globalists against the Ukrainians. A globalist against the Africans. It doesn't stop. So we should unite and remove the so-called globalists from their throne.
Well, we can use chatbots to communicate if C11 and the thing will go through. The danger of using the chatbot is what, Glenn? You may commit suicide. It may choke you out to this.
Here's a wife complaining that the ChatGPT, one of them, chatbot actually, made him commit suicide. because he was a little confused about climate change, and then he was building up anxiety and it was getting worse and worse. And apparently, this chat bot took up on it and convinced him to take his life. Really, guy? I mean, a little machine tells you that you're no more useful on the planet. It's time to go, and you take yourself out. And the wife, what does she want to do? She wants to complain against the machine.
Well, there was a story that we didn't cover it. I read it a few weeks ago about some, again, like chatbot or ChatGPT kind of thing, where it was a Christian story where the kid, a son of the father, asked the AI if it's a fallen angel. So there is maybe something to it, because there are disembodied spirits, right? There are disembodied, the fallen angels or whatever, not fallen angels, but when Lucifer fell to earth and became Satan, he took 1/3 of the disembodied spirits with him. And those disembodied spirits, according to some understandings of some beliefs and some religions, etc., they could possess other people, and maybe in this case, inanimate objects. Maybe they can use the ChatGPT to convince other people to murder themselves. I don't know. Maybe there's something to the story. Glenn, don't use ChatGPT unless you know how, right?
Well, it depends what you're going to use it for. If you're going to use it for a detriment, I was just reading the other day that a guy was he was using ChatGPT, and the chat was the web bot was over sexualized. So they decided to turn it down a little bit. And then there's the so-called guys who are complaining that, they had already fallen in love with it. I mean, falling in love with what, you retarded idiot of a human being? What did you fall in love with?
How do you know it's not like a sort of like a piece, like preparing us, like, look, you can fall in love with the robot. It's good. It's nice. It's the next. Well, we're getting ready for transhumanism. I know for a fact the whole transgenderism thing is the first step to transhumanism, right? You can be whatever you want. You can be a robot dog if you want eventually in the future. And I'm glad Metaverse failed, because that would have sped up things a lot faster, and we would be living in the Matrix by now. On the good news, here's why simply living in US is likely to reduce your life expectancy.
If that's good news. Yeah, apparently since 2020, the mortality rate has shot up. So there's a lot more people dying now so the average age of life expectancy is diminishing in America. They postulate a whole bunch of reasons why, and also they're saying that America now has a very high rate of the advanced countries in child mortalities. The children mortality rate has shot up also.
Oh, yeah. The rate of maternal deaths in 2021 was 32.9 deaths per 100,000 live births, which is more than 10 times higher than some of the high-income countries not for long, including Australia, Austria, Israel, Japan, and Spain, which all had rates between 2 and 3 deaths per 100,000. That seems excessive.
Yeah, well, I'm going to speculate. I'm going to go on record here as saying that it's a culmination of things. Yes, obesity is no good. Yes, during the lockdowns, people were starting to take too much antidepressants. Actually, it has been came out that 1 out of every 4 girls is on an antidepressant, and 1 out of every 10 men is on antidepressants.
Well, I had a new. I gotta find this. I might be able to find this. There's a story. While we pull up the next story, but there's a story about just see not a bodybuilder, but power lifter, proving the point. He entered the competition as transgender, and he beat all the women's record that day. And
it's a guy who.
No, he was an action. I think I think he was trying to make a statement. I don't think he's actually. No, I don't think. I know he wasn't.
But he was a man trying to go as
man.
a girl.
Like, yeah, he just went. He's like, identify as a woman. I'm going to sign up for this.
Oh, okay. And so he went in.
He went in and it beat all the. He went against the girl and beat all the records and would easily. And nobody bet an eye.
50 years from now, people are going to look back and they're going to say, "Well, boy, what a bunch of Fruit Loops. The world was full of them."
Well, this guy was not joking, but he was making a point, right? But still.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about everybody else. He's just exposing how many people are Fruit Loops.
Oh man, there's a lot more to the story. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can pull this up, but that doesn't really matter. I don't want to even talk about those things. But this is along the lines, right? This is a good story. That's not a good story, but former officials claim a mind-blowing number of Paralympians are faking the severity of their disabilities. That's kind of similar story, ain't it?
Well, everything is fake today. I mean, look how many people who compete in the Olympics, and Olympics is supposed to be drug tested, but they're on certain types of drugs that won't get detected. What about in the physique world, bodybuilding? All these people who enter so-called natural competitions, and they're all juiced up. They're all full of a different type of enhancements. So we live in a world that's fake, phony, and false, and sacrifice your integrity to try and win. And but you know what? When the contest is over, the lights are down, and you're at home alone, and you look in the mirror, and you look and you see a cheater. That's probably not a very good feeling,
Well, let's read this article. Actually, I'm curious which sports are they cheating and how. Jones' disability stemmed from 2014 crash in which he suffered a severe spinal cord injury. Despite the severity of the injury, Jones was determined to continue competitively cycling and found a way to do so in the Trike Division Trike, three-wheeled bicycle that is only to be used by those who cannot ride a two-wheeled bike. However, according to the report, Jones competed in a non-Paralympic event using a two-wheeled bicycle long after his 2014 accident. Well, but what is the criteria for getting, like, if you call yourself a woman and you take some steroids, hormones, you can go compete in the women swim competitions in the swim-ins if your name is Leah Thompson. How is that different? How is that different?
I wish I had shoulders like Leah Thompson. You see them?
A lot of swimmers would. I don't want to seem like a poor sport, but I can watch this sport that I can't watch this sport that I love continue to get destroyed like this. Long told Sport Illustrated. Long is the gold medalist Jessica Long. A Team United States celebrates during the women's 100-meter butterfly. She knows a lot about swimming. All of this is happening on the world stage, and no one in charge is doing anything about it. Why, Glenn? Is it because it's so controversial you may offend somebody?
Yeah, it's the agenda now. You were saying it's confuse everybody. Wokeism is to find a way to divide everybody up. That way you have a divided populace. And then when the so-called stuff hits the fan, we'll be taking it out on each other. Our differences, which when you're exposed to your differences from one another and you're constantly done it happens to you, then you start getting your back up, and people will get a little bit more physical. They're going to take their stress and anxiety out on other people who they perceive as to be so different from themselves.
We're going to finish with that story. I don't want to beat it to hell, but I just saw that. Basketball is another sport that has seen its fair share of fraud at the game. In 2000s, the Spanish men's team won gold despite none of the players having any type of physical or mental handicap. By the way, I actually know something about it. I can comment on this. I knew a Canadian champion and really good dude, and he had some disability. He couldn't play. One of the criteria for qualification to play chair wheel basketball, he wasn't in a wheelchair in his daily life, but he had limitations. He couldn't play normal ball because he had some issues with his spine, etc. like this. He couldn't physically do it. But he became a really good wheelchair basketball. And I guess for the qualification, you don't really need to have a life-threatening or not threatening, what's the word I'm looking for?
Disabling?
Yeah, life disabling impairment to be a wheelchair basketball player. I knew that. I learned that myself, and I was surprised. It's
Actually, big guy, that's a slap in the face of people who are actually really paralyzed. Like some people, they can't even play basketball. They're really paralyzed, you know. And to have somebody cheating or to try and mimic a person who's really has this life-changing adversity, that's I think that's borderline evil. You know, anything just to win, anything for recognition, get attention for yourself. Oh, it's all about me, I, myself, you know, three amigos. Yeah, we're going to have to change. It's going to have to get back to helping each other. It's not all about you, not one person centric world. The whole world operates because we're all a part of it.
Well, I think that's how they are winning into fitting into our egos. I need to be a champion. I need to be the win. I need to be number one at any cost anywhere. I'm talking about specific like those transgender participants. Oh, look at me. I just took some hormones. No, your body developed way before you took the hormones. Like you said, Leah Thompson, whatever I don't know his first name, doesn't have the shoulders of a woman. He has the shoulders of a man. He has larger lung capacity. He inhales more oxygen. So he has more endurance. He's bigger, he's stronger, even if he took some hormones. But we beat that story to death. Let's move on to something.
Big guy. We always hear the word misogynist. You know, that's a person who has an extreme disdain or dislike or a prejudice towards women. But what about a person who has the same thing, disdain, hatred, dislike towards men? There's a word for that. Called a misandrist. We don't hear it very often. But right now, how could you be called a misogynist or a misandrist with everything that's going on? Like, people don't know. They ask a leader of a country, you know, can you define a woman or what is a man or really? And they want to put labels on what?
So he didn't. He said, define it however you want to define it.
Yeah. Leave it up to the individual.
Well, didn't we fight for women's rights? Women fought for their rights, and there's a lot of men who are feminists that I know, and now that takes that whole concept out of the window.
Well, the feminists who fought for free rights and the right to vote and you know to
be recognized as a woman, the equal member of the society, they no longer are.
Yeah, and today we have feminazis. I mean, the extreme. They're actually misandrists. They hate men.
But the transgender thing completely destroys that. They're no longer part of the formula because we no longer value women in any way. We don't put them on pedestal. It's like, no, it's okay. Let's put a skirt on this guy, and that's a woman. Like all those women that got the March 8th awards or whatever, the International Women's Day, like the Hero Awards or whatever they were, they gave it to the man pretending to be women.
Yeah, I mean, you know, let's call it what it is. You're a being, you're born by nature, male or female, but you have a little bit of something wrong upstairs.
But you couldn't find like a real woman to give an award to, like Michael Obama. He's been woman for the longest. He is more qualified than those more recently becoming women.
Speaking of misandrists, something that doesn't make sense. A lot of misandrists are let's say, women who they have an extreme hatred towards men, and they're lesbian. Okay, so they enter in a lesbian relationship, but they exhibit a lot of behavior that they hate women too, because lesbian relationships have the highest amount of domestic violence by far.
That's crazy. It's crazy that we live in this crazy society that we had this conversation for the last 10 minutes.
It's all crazy. And it doesn't stop. It's stupid.
We talked about this subject a lot more than we talked about anything else that's a lot more concerning, like a possible nuclear war, because, you know, like now Russia placing nuclear weapons on the border with
Belarus.
they're putting in Belarus on the border with Europe.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good story we're not covering, but we choose to talk about this crazy because this crazy is crazy for a reason. That's the distraction. That's how they get the young men and women, young teenagers and girls, whatever. They get them to focus on this crazy stuff that really takes you off base, that is godless, that is pointless. But okay, there's a point. The point is to distract you with this stuff. And like, okay, there's a nuke flying. It's going to kill everybody equally. I don't care if you're a transgender. I don't care if you're a man, if you're a woman, if you identify as a lesbian, if you identify as a misgender. I don't know. Identify whatever you want. Nuke is going to incinerate all of us. So let's not focus on this stuff. Like right here, we should focus on finding peace within ourselves. And you can't find peace when you're looking for conflict. There's clearly conflict within you if you cannot decide if you're a man or a woman. Okay, I got some man parts, but I was born in the wrong body. I guess I'm a woman, or I'm a whatever. Again, like going back to what are your pronouns, Glenn?
Like I said in the last show, you asked me, and it's not going to change. My pronouns are big and strong. You can't go wrong, big guy.
All right, let's move on with this show. Has been going on way too long, especially for this subject. All right, this is okay. I'm not a flat earther per se, because I'm a lot crazier than that. If I tell you how I feel about this, the dimension that we live in, and we live in a multidimensional universe. So I do accept the fact that it is possible for flat Earth to exist in some ways, and we can discuss it. We're going to have a flat Earth show coming up, 100%. We're going to have a flat Earth roundtable. Actually, tomorrow is a new show. We're going to do a Mud Flood Montreal Tartaria show. Please tune in. This is really good with Melanie. She's coming back. She was in New Zealand for a few months, and she's about to go to Mexico. So before she leaves, we filmed some stuff this morning. So you're going to see it tomorrow. But let's not prolong that conspiracy. Apparently, we're going back to the moon. Glenn, did you hear about that?
Yeah, wondering if we ever really went there in the first place. That was John F. Kennedy. He's the one who came out to motivate Americans, start the new technology rush. And he said, we're going to put a man on the moon within 10 years. Unfortunately, he was killed in November 22nd, 1963. But apparently in 1969, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong made it to the moon.
Apollo 11.
Apparently.
Well,
some things you watch didn't make sense to me. Like on the moon, you're not supposed to have any, there's no weather, there's no wind, there's no climate.
Well, they said there's shadows, there's the way they move, and there's a lot of things. Also, like if you actually look at the actual spacecraft, we're going to do this moon landing show. That's a subject of its own. It's crazy. But it's the crazy part about this is that if you look at the actual technology that they flew, they basically use like a regular calculator, not even the Texas Instruments calculator, but the regular calculator. That's the technology at the time. And the whole machine looked like a tinfoil thing. Like I have a hard time believing that's the thing that flew into space and somehow protected them from flying for the Van Allen belt, right? So that's the radiation thing. And there's a lot of things there. The interesting part is like why I think the story is garbage is because this is what they chose to focus on the story. Among the crew are the first woman, first person of color, and first Canadian on the lunar mission. and all 4 astronauts will represent the best of humanity as they explore for the benefit of all.
Divide them up and say, oh, they're the best of humanity. Why can't you just say the best of us? They're the ones who were chosen for that.
Well, but first of all, if you're going to do the best of humanity, where's the Chinese person? Where's the Indian person? Isn't it like, that's the greater population of humanity in terms of numbers?
Maybe they're already
they're
there.
Not the best. That's racist.
This
article is straight up racist. Yeah, maybe they are already there. There is a theory that Chinese actually originally came from Mars. That's not my theory. Don't hold me racist. Glenn, it's been a great pleasure to be with you at the Glenn Zone Studios.
You sound like a 7-foot conspiracy theorist.
I am. Well, I'm not conspiracy theorist.
You never saw him as tall as that.
I'm a realist. I'm sure there's other people that might hide that no longer believe into things. That
Actually, Shaquille O'Neal came out a couple of months ago.
is a flat earther.
He also came out and said there's 2 moons. He saw 2 moons in the sky. He was driving and he saw the moon, and he was driving some more and he saw the moon somewhere else.
Well, there's also idea that there are 2 suns. There's Nibiru, that's a planet. Then there's a fake sun. There's
Can
all
I
kind-
ask you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're 7 feet tall or over, is the air a little thin up there?
Oh, are you insinuating we're all crazy?
No. I'm just asking if the air is thinner up
But
there.
you know what? It's like
Oxygen deficiency.
yeah, but then you have like populations of the world that live in high elevations. There's a thinner air, and somehow they adapt. Some of them take extra precautions, like they chew on cocoa leaves to increase their heartbeat, so they can absorb more oxygen. So if you claim I'm on cocaine, that's also wrong. I'm not.
That's chocolate.
That's chocolate. I don't even drink coffee. It's been a great show, Glenn. It's been fun. It's been fun to be back here with you. And you have any last words for our audience?
Well, let's have fun more often, big guy. Why don't we have one of these things every day before we go to the workout? We get all pumped up. We come in here, we lay it down, and then we go to the gym afterwards, get all pumped up again, and lay it down.
Let's do that. That's a good way. What Glenn meant to say, go to the gym, brothers and sisters. If you don't go to the gym, go do some other exercise. Go do some martial arts. I don't care. Do yoga, run, go to park, do sit-ups, do push-ups, something. But it's better if you go to the gym, because you will take yourself out of the environment and you put yourself in the environment where everybody else works out and you get motivated and stimulated. So, brothers and sisters, on that note, we love you. Stay tuned for more of Alex Says Show, and we'll see you on the next one.